Some things I want to be looking for when I'm cooking these. I want to make sure that my heat is not too high, so obviously I don't want to see any browning happen right away, so I'm even turning my heat down to low now. Okay, and it's going to depend on your stovetop a little bit. Some of them are a little bit hotter than others. When I'm turning my heat down low, I want to sweat this. So cooking it over low heat to release the moisture from the vegetables. Okay? So I want to after we can put it over the stove top. I want to cook it over low heat to release the moisture and not get any color. Things that I'm looking for, again, I don't want to see any color on this. I want to look at my onions and they should start to become a little bit translucent. So they're not going to look sort of this really bright white. They're going to kind of change to more this ivory kind of pearlish look where you can kind of start to see through them a little bit. It's at that point that you want to add your carrots. This is why it's important to have all these things ready, right? So you can focus on your cooking, I can focus on what's happening in my pot. If I've noticed that once I add my carrots, the heat has kind of been taken out of my pot, I can turn it up a little bit. Kind of moving these around a little bit so I find that they don't burn. I'm listening, I don't want to hear like a really deep, hard frying sound on it. That shows me that some of the moisture is evaporated, or too much of the moisture is evaporated, it's starting to fry. Once it fries, the sugar's caramelized, it turns brown. I don't want to have any brown soups. This should be nice and bright and vibrant. Okay? Make sure that your pot is over the center of your stove. A lot of people cook with their pots askew, and that's why we find that we have areas in our pot that burn. Okay, so very important that your pot is always centralized over your stovetop. Once the carrots have taken a little bit of heat, meaning they've kind of lost a little bit of their vibrancy, they're not going to become translucent. Once they've lost some of that vibrancy, then I'm going to add in my celery. Okay. That's why it's good to have all these things organized too, so I know exactly what is going into my soup. So if we look at the onions, we cooked it for about a minute before I added my carrot. That's an approximate depending on your heat is correct. When I added my carrots, I probably cooked it for maybe another 45 seconds to a minute as well. Same thing for my celery. I'm probably going to cook it for another 30, 45 seconds before I add in my leek. Okay. My heat is still very manageable. I have it on medium-low heat. Okay, so it's not a very aggressive heat as well. I just want to have this take a little bit of heat to release the moisture out of it. So I'm adding my leeks in next. Again, your leeks will go for about 45 seconds and they're going to become translucent as well. We're adding each thing in individually. Each thing takes a little bit longer to cook. The things that take the longest I put in first. So my onion is still cooking, right? Because it needs a lot more time than, say, like my peas, essentially, and the celery and everything. Okay? Make sense? Cooking, for the most part, is common sense. Next thing I'm going to add are my turnips. These are really the only things that I'm going to be, that and my garlic are really the only things I'm going to be sauteing in my pot. So let my turnips go for, again, maybe another 45 seconds to a minute. After they've gone for the 45 seconds to a minute, I would add my garlic. And again, be very careful with the garlic. A lot of the recipes are asking for too much garlic. I don't want to have a garlic soup. So again, 1/8 of a teaspoon is going to be more than enough you need for your garlic. A lot of our, you'll see in your recipe that says, 1 clove of garlic. Well, sometimes we get cloves that are about this big. Sometimes we get cloves that are about that big. Okay, so we have to use a little bit of judgment with that. So I'm going to add my garlic in. This is the last thing I add before I'm going to add my stock. I'm going to stir it around. The reason I'm adding my garlic in last, it is the one thing that likes to burn very, very quickly. Okay, so garlic is generally added in last in things. Okay, I can smell it. Once I kind of get the aroma, then I know my garlic is ready. It's sort of, the oils are starting to come out of it. Now I'm going to add my stock. Use a measuring cup to get added in. I'm going to turn my heat up to about medium-high. I want to have this happen a little bit faster now once I get my stock in. I don't have to worry about coloring so much. You notice what are the ingredients that I've not added into this yet?
Tomatoes and peas and parsley.
Yes. Why not?
It's already cooked.
Sorry?
It's already cooked.
Someone's got to speak up because I kind of hear you.
They're very gentle so they can break down.
They are. Essentially, your peas have already been cooked.
The butter go?
Okay, when they're frozen, they're pre-cooked before they're frozen.
Yeah. He melted.
So they already have some cooking to it. They are green vegetables, so they like to change color very quickly. I don't want to see those sort of army green peas, okay, and have them too mushy. The tomatoes, again, we just want to have them warm through because they will cook and break down in no time at all. Okay, we went through a lot. We put a lot of focus on making sure that these were cooked properly, so I don't want to have them overcooked by the time I get them up front. I've also reserved my parsley. That's one of the very last things you're going to put in because the parsley will turn brown very quickly. I will take my additional spice bag. I'm going to add this in here now. Okay. One thing also, I did not add any salt yet. Now I like to salt in stages, so you can salt your vegetables a little bit, and then you can salt your stock a little bit as well. The stock we've added, again, only a very, very minute amount of seasoning to it, so it's going to be very bland. So I'll probably taste it. At this point, it tastes very good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of salt. By a little bit of salt, I mean maybe a quarter of a teaspoon to this. I want to add less than I think that I need, because perhaps this reduces a little bit. If it reduces, the salt level still stays the same. It becomes salty. Okay, but I want to have enough salt in here that it's able to accentuate or bring forward the flavors that we have in this pot. So this is really the home stretch. Now we've got it. Now I have, the only thing I have to add here, really, are these three items. So it's at this point that I can really make sure that I go through, I clean up my station, I wipe everything down, I make sure everything is stored away properly. Okay, you notice my fridge is still manageable there. I have everything sort of nice and organized. If I had any dishes, like again, a small amount of dishes that perhaps I didn't get to, I would get to them at this point. Again, this is the waste that you're looking for as well. You don't have very much waste here at all today. Okay, very, very, very little. Right? That's very, very important as well. I can get rid of that now. Obviously, you're putting this into the thinner compost bin that you have in the kitchen. Yes, sir?
Should everyone have their own waste?
What you can do is at one table you can have one large bowl. Everyone puts into that. You can work in a smaller bowl if you're peeling, and then empty that smaller bowl into that. Yes.
You just add the chicken stock to the
I added the chicken stocks. Yes. So once all the vegetables are cooked, I mean all of them. I'm meaning the onions first, carrot, celery, leek, turnip, garlic, stock, spice bag, salt. Bring it up to a boil. Let it simmer lightly. Okay? And the amount of time that you let it simmer is basically you have a timer on the vegetables. Once all the vegetables, again, I want to have a little bit of texture. I want to be able to tell that there's vegetables in there. Okay? But I still want to make sure that they're cooked through. Okay, so they shouldn't be crunchy. They should have, again, a bit of sort of soft texture to them. Any other questions so far? So again, what's the first thing that we're doing when we get into the kitchen?
Wash our
Well, first thing we're doing is washing our hands, and we're getting our equipment set up.
Good.
We need to get our oven preheated right away and our roasting pan into that oven right away. Okay, that is very, very important to make sure that we're prepared for our bones. After we have that, what do we want to get doing? Get our blanching water on, yes. What else do we want to have going as well?
Chicken rinsing.
Chicken rinsing. Okay? When the chicken's rinsing, our oven's probably preheated, we've had our briefing, we've come back, our bones can go into our oven at that point, our beef bones. Once our beef bones are in our oven, we can probably look at our chicken bones, get them on. Proper ratio of water to bones, right? So make sure that you have that, or else your stock or your soup's going to taste very weak. It's not going to be very flavorful at all. So make sure you pay attention to that. So once the chicken stock is on, and your beef bones are in your oven, then we're going to get working on what?
Vegetables.
The mirepoix for our stocks. So the larger cuts. 2-inch pieces for the beef. 1-inch piece for the chicken. Okay? If If you haven't already got them done, that's a good time to get your spice bags done. Both of them. One for the chicken stock, one for your soup. Okay? You're going to want to blanch your tomatoes. And at some point, we're going to be adding our vegetables to our stock since we've kind of been watching the bones roast. We've been skimming our stock as it comes up to a boil. Okay? Then once we've skimmed our stock is clear, we add our vegetables to our chicken stock, we let it cook. Once our beef bones have some of that nice deep color on them, then we're going to add our vegetables to that. We're going to roast it. The last minute, when we think it's pretty much done, that's when we add our tomato paste. 1 minute, no more, or else it will end up being burnt.
Just send me the last part here.
Once my system's come to a boil here, we're going to turn it down. Then we want to focus on our veg cuts. It didn't take me very long, but it's probably going to take you guys probably close to half an hour. I'm going to say, realistically, it's probably going to take you half an hour. So very important that you do arrive on time, come in early. Wash your vegetables, maybe peel them beforehand, so that you have that block of half an hour to really focus on the veg cuts. Monitoring your heat, I just want to have this simmer lightly, yes.
We are getting our Tupperware